What we saw in March 2026 is a market that's splitting, where your experience depends heavily on what kind of property you're buying or selling. Over the past year, Calgary has seen a meaningful increase in supply, especially in apartments and higher density segments. At the same time, demand has cooled slightly as migration levels normalize and economic uncertainty remains. CREB data shows inventory is up roughly 5% year over year, while sales have dropped about 13%, pushing the market into more balanced territory. What that means in plain English is that buyers have more choice once again, but that choice isn't distributed evenly across the entire market. So while the headlines say balanced market, that might not be what it feels like depending on the segment that you're particularly dealing with. Detached and semi-detached homes are still tight, competitive, and still holding their value, while condos and row homes are dealing with oversupply and price pressures. So let's break down the numbers and see where the market's headed. Let's dive right in, shall we? The benchmark price for the typical Calgary home came in at $565,600, which is down 4.2% year over year, with days on market sitting at around 35 days to sell the average Calgary home. In March, we saw 1,881 total sales across Calgary, down 12.8% compared to the same time last year. Currently, inventory is sitting at 5,395 active listings, giving us about 2.87 months of supply. So as has been the case recently, the detached and semi-detached segments are behaving very differently from the apartment and row house segments. And this difference is illustrated pretty clearly when we look at these two charts. When looking at sales by price range, you can see that the biggest year-over-year dip is again in the $300,000 to $500,000 price ranges, typical condo prices in Calgary. At the same time, you can clearly see big increases in the total months of supply in properties under 500,000. So now that it looks like the city's blanket rezoning policy is on track to be repealed, you may think that this is going to result in a bit of a comeback for the condo market as less of this type of property is going to be being built. And if you think this, you'd be right, but it really is a matter of timing. Even if the blanket rezoning is gone today, all of the permits that were in before the repeal are still going to be valid. Also, all of the current projects that are being built or haven't broken ground yet still need to be completed. Then all of this additional supply still needs to be listed and then sold so that it can be absorbed into the greater market as a whole. So really only then will you start to see the effects of this policy shift have the desired effects on condo supply and price. So honestly, I wouldn't expect to see condo prices begin to recover for probably some time. Overall, inventory is climbing as we move into summer, as are average prices, with the days on market trending downward. This is to be expected with the typical seasonal cycle in Calgary real estate. The detached benchmark price is sitting at $741,300, which is down 3.3% year over year, with the average days on market sitting at 31 days. In March, there were 982 detached home sales, which is down 5% compared to last year. New listings came in at 1,614, with the current months of supply coming in at 2.22. So detached homes continue to be the strongest segment in Calgary, relatively speaking. Inventory remains tight, under 2.5 months of supply, which is still in seller's market territory, and that's helping to keep the prices on this segment stable. Even though overall sales activity has softened slightly, demand for detached homes is still staying strong. The semi-detached benchmark price came in at $686,100, which is down 0.9% year over year, with the average days on market in this segment sitting at 38 days to sell a semi-detached property. In March, there were 193 semi-detached home sales, which is up 5% year over year. New listings came in at 326, with the current months of supply coming in at just under 2.5 months at 2.49. Semi-detached properties are tracking very closely to detached properties, but with a little bit more volatility in pricing. This segment is operating in roughly balanced market territory with low inventory levels, yet prices have seen some year-over-year softness in certain areas. So what we're seeing here is a segment that's still competitive from a supply standpoint, but more sensitive to buyer hesitation, especially as affordability becomes a bigger issue. The row house benchmark price is sitting at $423,900, down 6.2% year over year. Average days on market for row housing is currently sitting at 37 days. In March, there were 322 row home sales, which is down 19% year over year, with new listings in this segment coming in at 584, with the current months of supply coming in at 2.98. The row house segment is currently sitting somewhere between the detached and apartment markets, but it is definitely moving in lockstep with the apartment segment. All of the same inventory and price pressure that are appearing in the apartment segment are also appearing in the row house segment, and it shows in the numbers. The apartment benchmark price in Calgary is currently $300,300, down 9.3% year over year, with the average days on market for apartments sitting at 45 days. Apartment sales are down 29% year over year, with the total apartment sales in March at 384. New listings in this segment came in at 885, with the current months of supply coming in at 4.62, placing the apartment segment firmly in buyer's market territory. All right, honestly, if you don't need to sell an apartment right now, don't. Ideally, if you can afford it, I would wait until the prices go back up and all of that excess inventory has been absorbed into the market. If you do have a pressing need to sell, listen to your realtor's price recommendation. If you're priced too high compared to the competition, an apartment right now is just going to sit on the market. You're going to need to be priced really well to get your apartment to sell in a timely fashion. It just is what it is at the moment. Now, if you're an apartment buyer, you're in a really good position to get what you're looking for at a really good price. But just make sure that you're planning to hold for the long term. So that's your April 2025 Calgary market update. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.